Namibia, a country that most people couldn't place on a map. A country where the desert meets the ocean, where ancient dunes burn red at sunrise, and where the silence is so complete it becomes something you can feel. This is not the Africa of postcards. No jungle, no rainforest, no crowded safari vans chasing the same lion. This is something older, something stranger, something that existed long before humans arrived and will exist long after we are gone. One country, zero explanations for how somewhere this extraordinary exists. This is Namibia. There is a dune in the Namib Desert that people travel across the world to watch the sunrise from. Dune 45, named simply for its location 45 kilometers from the park entrance. No dramatic title, no ancient name, just a number. And yet it is the most photographed dune on Earth. It rises 170 meters from the valley floor. The sand is not yellow. It is deep burnt orange, colored by iron oxide that has been oxidizing for 5 million years. The older the sand, the redder it gets. Dune 45 is among the oldest exposed sand on the planet. At sunrise, the light hits the ridge of the dune at an angle that splits it perfectly, one side blazing orange, the other in complete shadow. The line between light and dark runs sharp as a blade down the face of the dune. Photographers position themselves before dawn to capture this moment. It lasts less than 20 minutes before the light shifts and the contrast softens. The climb takes approximately 45 minutes. The sand gives way underfoot, with every step 2 steps forward, 1 step sliding back. At the summit, the view extends across a valley of dunes that stretches to every horizon. No buildings, no roads, nothing made by human hands in any direction. Just sand, light, and silence that has been here for millions of years. A few kilometers from Dune 45, the landscape does something unexpected. The dunes open up and reveal a white clay pan surrounded on all sides by the highest sand dunes in the world. In the center of that pan, black trees, dead trees, trees that have been standing for over 900 years without decaying, preserved by the extreme dryness of the Namib Desert. This is dead vley. The trees died around 700 years ago when the climate shifted and the river that once fed this valley changed course. Without water, they couldn't survive, but without moisture, they couldn't decay either. They simply stopped frozen in the moment of their death, standing in the same positions for 9 centuries. The white of the clay pan comes from minerals left behind when the water evaporated. The black of the trees comes from centuries of sun exposure. The orange of the surrounding dunes comes from iron oxide. 3 colors that have no right to exist together, and yet here they are, arranged by geology and time into something that looks deliberately composed. Photographers call Dead Vley one of the most surreal landscapes on Earth. Scientists call it a textbook example of climate change visible at geological scale. The Bushmen who lived near here for thousands of years had their own name for it, a place where the world showed its bones. Standing inside it, All three descriptions feel accurate. It is a place that time forgot to finish. In the middle of the Namib Desert, granite rises from the flat earth without warning. Spitzkappe, a cluster of ancient rock formations that have been standing here for 700 million years. The tallest peak reaches 1,728 meters above sea level, visible from 100 kilometers away across the flat desert floor. From a distance, it looks like a single sharp point. Up close, it reveals itself as a collection of domes, arches, and faces of bare granite that glow orange at sunrise and deep red at sunset. The rock is older than almost anything visible on the surface of the Earth. It formed deep underground during a period of intense volcanic activity, then was slowly exposed over hundreds of millions of years as the softer rocks surrounding it eroded away. What remains is some of the hardest, most ancient granite on the continent, smooth in places, fractured in others, carved by wind and temperature change into shapes that seem too precise to be accidental. The natural arch at Spitzkappe, a freestanding bridge of rock that frames the sky perfectly, is one of the most photographed geological features in Namibia. Climbers have been scaling the surrounding faces since the early 1900s. The routes here are considered among the finest granite climbing in Africa. Stan Bushmen lived in and around these rocks for thousands of years. Their paintings, geometric patterns, animal figures, human hands cover the sheltered rock faces in pigments that have survived millennia of desert exposure. The oldest may be over 2,000 years old. At night, far from any city, the sky above Spitzkappe fills with stars so dense they cast faint shadows on the granite below. The rocks have been watching that sky for longer than we can imagine. There is a salt pan in northern Namibia, so large it can be seen from space. Etosha. The word means great white place in the local Ovambo language. And from above, that is exactly what it looks like. A vast, white expanse of mineral flat stretching 120 kilometers across, shimmering in the heat, surrounded by savanna that holds some of the highest concentrations of wildlife in Africa. The water holes are the reason everything comes here. In the dry season, when the pan offers nothing and the surrounding bush dries out, every animal within range converges on the same small points of water. Lions wait. Elephants arrive in herds of 50. Black rhinos, among the most endangered animals on Earth, drink at night while floodlights illuminate the waterhole from the lodge above. Zebras and wildebeest move in columns that stretch beyond the visible horizon. What makes Etosha different from other African parks is the salt pan itself. The white flat creates a backdrop that exists nowhere else. Animals photographed against it look like they are floating in white space. Giraffes walking the pan edge at sunset, flamingos gathering in the shallow water that forms after rain, ostriches running across the flat at full speed for no apparent reason. The park covers 22,000 square kilometers. It protects the last viable populations of black rhino in Namibia, alongside lions, leopards, cheetahs, elephants, and over 340 species of birds. This is Africa as it was before everything changed. And in Etosha, it is still exactly that. There is a canyon in southern Namibia that most people have never heard of. Fish River Canyon is the second largest canyon in the world. 160 kilometers long, 27 kilometers wide, and up to 550 meters deep. The only canyon larger is the Grand Canyon in Arizona. And yet Fish River Canyon receives a fraction of the visitors, a fraction of the coverage, and a fraction of the attention. The river that carved it has been cutting through this rock for 650 million years. The oldest exposed rock at the bottom is some of the most ancient on the surface of the Earth. Standing at the rim and looking down, you are looking at geological time made visible layer after layer of rock, recording a history that began before complex life existed on this planet. The canyon is not static. The Fish River still flows through the bottom, seasonal and slow, carving the rock deeper with every year that passes. In the rainy season, waterfalls appear on the canyon walls. In the dry season, pools of still water reflect the rock above them, with a clarity that makes the canyon seem to double in depth. Hiking the canyon floor is one of the great wilderness walks in Africa. 85 kilometers over 5 days, no facilities, no rescue services, no other people for most of the route. The canyon provides everything: shade, water, and the specific silence of a place that has been forming since before humans existed. Most visitors stand at the rim, look down, and say nothing. That is the correct response. The Namib Desert is the oldest desert on Earth. Not the largest, not the hottest, the oldest. It has been a desert for at least 55 million years, since before the continents fully separated into their current positions. The sand dunes of Sossusvlei are part of that ancient system, shaped and reshaped by wind for longer than most geological features on the planet's surface have existed. The dunes here are among the highest in the world. Big Daddy, the tallest, rises approximately 325 meters from its base. The climb takes over an hour. The sand at the top is fine and cool in the early morning, warm and shifting by midday. From the summit, the landscape extends in every direction without a single reference point that belongs to the modern world. The color changes throughout the day. At sunrise, the dunes are pale pink. By mid-morning, they are deep orange. At midday, the light flattens them. In the late afternoon, they turn a red, so saturated it seems impossible for something natural. Photographers set alarms for 4 a.m. specifically to be in position before the first light hits the sand. The desert supports life that should not exist here. Bog beetles collect moisture from the morning mist on their backs. Oryx, large antelope with straight horns that can reach 40 degrees of body temperature without brain damage, move through the dunes with a calm that suggests the desert is not hostile to them at all. It is only hostile to us. And that is exactly what makes it worth coming to. There is a coastline in northwestern Namibia that sailors once called the Gates of Hell. The Skeleton Coast stretches for 500 kilometers where the Namib Desert meets the Atlantic Ocean. Cold currents from Antarctica push northward along this shore, creating permanent fog that rolls inland every morning and turns the coastline into something between a dream and a warning. More than 1,000 ships have wrecked here. The combination of fog, unpredictable currents, and violent surf made this one of the most dangerous stretches of water on Earth for centuries of navigation. The rusting hulls of those ships still lie on the beach, half buried in sand, slowly being consumed by the desert that surrounds them. Some have been there for over 100 years. The dry desert air preserves them the same way it preserved the trees of dead Vlay. The name Skeleton Coast comes from the whale and seal bones that once lined the shore from the whaling industry. Later, it became associated with the sailors who survived shipwrecks only to die in the desert trying to walk to safety. The nearest town was hundreds of kilometers away. The desert offered nothing. The ocean offered no return. Today, the Skeleton Coast is a national park. Desert-adapted lions hunt seals on the beach. Brown hyenas patrol the shoreline at night. Massive colonies of Cape fur seals, numbering in the hundreds of thousands, cover sections of the beach so completely that the sand itself disappears beneath them. The fog comes every morning without fail. It softens the wrecked ships, blurs the line between ocean and desert, and turns everything into something that exists slightly outside of ordinary reality. This is a coast that never forgot what it was built on. Nothing prepares you for the sound or the smell or the sight of a beach so completely covered in living animals that the sand itself has disappeared beneath them. Cape Cross Seal Reserve sits on the Skeleton Coast and contains one of the largest colonies of Cape fur seals in the world. At peak season, over 100,000 seals occupy a stretch of beach less than 2 kilometers long. The noise they produce, a constant overlapping chorus of barks, cries, and calls, is audible from kilometers away. The seals have been coming here for thousands of years. The cold Benguela current that runs along this coast carries enormous quantities of fish northward from Antarctica, more food per square kilometer of ocean than almost anywhere else on Earth. The seals follow the food. They always have. The colony is not peaceful. Adult males weigh up to 360 kilograms and fight constantly for territory. Pups are born directly onto the beach and must learn to swim before the predators arrive. Desert-adapted black-backed jackals patrol the colony edges, waiting for opportunities. Brown hyenas move through at night. Occasionally, a desert lion appears on the beach, one of the rarest wildlife sightings in Namibia. The Portuguese explorer Diego Cao planted a stone cross here in 1486, one of the first European landmarks on the African continent. A replica stands at the site today. Around it, completely indifferent to its historical significance, the seals continue doing what they have always done. The cross marked the edge of the known world for European explorers. For the seals, it was never unknown at all. At the edge of the Namib Desert, where the dunes meet the ocean, something unexpected appears. Pink. Thousands of flamingos standing in shallow water so calm it mirrors the sky above them perfectly. Behind them, sand dunes. Behind the dunes, nothing for hundreds of kilometers. This is Walvis Bay. The lagoon here is one of the most important wetlands in Africa. The cold Benguela current pushes nutrients northward along the coast, creating conditions that support an extraordinary concentration of marine life. Up to 150,000 flamingos gather in the lagoon at peak season, one of the largest flamingo concentrations on the continent. Pelicans patrol the shallows in groups, herding fish with their enormous bills. Dolphins follow the fishing boats into the harbor every morning. The contrast is what makes Walvis Bay remarkable. Stand at the lagoon edge and turn in a full circle. In one direction, pink birds, blue water, perfect reflections. In the other direction, orange dunes rising 100 meters from the beach, the oldest desert on Earth beginning exactly where the ocean ends. Two of the planet's most extreme environments sharing the same shoreline. Kayaking through the lagoon at sunrise brings you close enough to the pelicans that they investigate your paddle. Cape fur seals surface alongside the kayak, curious and unhurried. The water is cold and completely clear. Below the surface, the seafloor is visible in detail several meters down. Walvis Bay is not a dramatic landscape. It does not overwhelm or astonish on arrival. It simply shows you something you did not expect to find here. And that is more than enough. Namibia does not perform for you. It does not adjust itself to your expectations or your schedule or your comfort. The desert was here before you arrived and will be here long after you leave. The dunes will shift, the fog will come every morning, the seals will return to the same beach they have used for thousands of years. 10 places. 10 completely different worlds, all of them in one country that most people fly over on their way to somewhere more familiar. The oldest desert on Earth. A coastline built on shipwrecks, elephants that learned to survive where elephants should not exist, trees that died 700 years ago and are still standing. This is Namibia, and it has been waiting a very long time for you to notice